Good night and welcome to Mindful Life 328. I am your host, Nathan Springer. Well, actually, your co-host. The host is right there, chillaxing. Thank you for being here. It is the 12th of January in the year of our Lord 2024. Once you're on the inside, double tap the screen over there on TikTok, hit that like button however you do over there on Instagram, and make sure you hit the like button on YouTube. Even if you are viewing this on repeat on the day after some other time, whenever you are viewing this, take a pause like right about now and you hit that that like button. It really does help with the algorithm. As cliched as it sounds, it really does help. So please, thanks. Yeah, you could drop a comment to tell me what you think. Otis says prison is supposed to be a place of punishment. Now it's a place to party, Otis says. You see, Otis, we're talking right now for you who might be jumping in on the YouTube about the prison officers and the predicament they find themselves in, as one prison officer was murdered yesterday, I believe that was, in Arima somewhere there, Summer Village. And I find certain questions could be asked about that in and of itself, about the situation. I don't know, looking at the details of the incident, if it necessarily was targeted, but I mean, if a prison officer is murdered, you kind of always feel like somebody wanted to do that. But yeah, one of the problems we are at right now, Otis, I think, in particular the Western world, is we're struggling with what we want from prisons. Are prisons supposed to be punitive? Are they supposed to punish? Or are they supposed to rehabilitate and reform and help reintroduce people into our society? Personally, my personal opinion, you say, well, both. I don't think they can effectively have both at the top of their priority list. I think one would always supersede the other. And for me personally, I have no problem with punishment being the primary purpose. Because prison isn't your daddy, your mommy, your family. The idea of prison is that you have already passed the point where those who love you and would want to do so may be willing to rehabilitate you. And now you are at the hands of the state. And you are an inconvenience. I'm stating it obviously, you are an inconvenience. In olden days, we would have exiled you and banished you from ever returning to our society. And we solve that problem. Or you bad, or you cannot follow the rules of Trinidad and Tobago society, well, we push you on a boat and say leave our borders and never return. Unfortunately for us now, everywhere has other borders, so people would be like, don't send your criminals by us. You know, it's like the police officer who was disrespectful and rude in St. Joseph, and they take the lady and send her to Toko. Like, Toko people want a disrespectful woman up there. Like, you send her in exile in Toko. Like, that's punishment to Toko. The police do that. They throw people into exile. Unfortunately, we don't have that right now. We can't put you in exile. So we have to exile you within our borders. So here's what we do. We build some tall walls, very strong, impregnable, inescapable. And we toss you in there and imagine like we exile you. And we decide, okay, this exile is supposed to last 20 years. In 20 years, we come back and see if you want to rejoin our society and behave like a regular Trinidadian and Tobagonian from henceforth. That's what it's supposed to be. But it's not. It's a holding area where the gangsters meet and chill and plan. Like, so many times you hear about gang bosses, gang leaders in jail and in prison, and I wonder, is it that we're so good at arresting gang leaders, that's why all are in prison? Or is it that the gang members who survive are the ones in prison, so they are by default the leaders? Consider that. Is it that all the leaders get arrested? Or is it that, you know, the gang has 300 people? And it just so happens when you arrest some, they are the ones who are going to end up staying alive the longest. So by default, you know, they are the oldest, longest living members. If you want to meet a gangster alive since the 90s, find one in prison. And then you could understand now why you could be a gang leader so easily. And why it should be very important not allowing communication between inside and outside. You would think this is one of the first steps in crime fighting and working things out with these gangs, but apparently it's something too advanced for our protective services to catch on to. And in speaking about crime causing poverty, that leads straight into my first story. Just about the prisons and the gangs and all of that. Exactly that same stuff. Fish vendor forced to flee to UK. Good night, moisture enjoyer. Fish vendor forced to flee to UK. Threats by gang boss to sell at roundabout. This forced to flee Trinidad. This is what a fish and shrimp vendor at the Carney roundabout says he had to do to escape criminal gangs who were trying to extort him. The man whose name was said there said he had to leave this country and fly to the United Kingdom to escape the gangs whose members threatened his life if he did not pay them a monthly protection fee. Hossein, 40, in an interview with The Express yesterday, claimed that he was targeted by 2 gangs in January last year. The fish vendor, who lived in Couva, said he was approached by 3 men, one of whom had a cell phone in his hand. Hossein said he was told that on the other end of the line was a gang member who was in prison and was demanding that the fisherman pay $2,000 a month if he wanted to continue plying his business at the Carney roundabout. Outside where, Mr. Darius? Hossein recalled it was a Saturday about 1 p.m. and I saw a little commotion was going on. I saw 3 guys going around to all the fishermen. So I thought they were looking for a certain type of fish. I was sitting across where I was selling, so I was watching. When they came to my van, I thought they were looking for me to buy from me, because there were a lot of people who come looking for me from all over. One of them had a phone in his hand and said, "The boss wants to talk to you." I say, "Who is the boss?" They say, "The man in charge and he in jail." I say, "Well, I don't know who you're talking about." I took the phone and I spoke to him. He said, "This is the boss from the jail," and asked if this is Donny the fisherman. I said yes. He said he wants $2,000 a month from me, and if you don't get that money, I cannot sell. He said only $2,000 a month. That is only $500 a week. Hossein said he told the man on the phone that amount of money would be difficult because he had workmen to pay. He had to buy ice to keep the fish fresh, and he had other expenses. He said he don't want to hear that. He have his sell up here and he have to make a money, and this is his area. And he said everybody have to pay or they can't come and sell here, Hossein said. He said the man on the cell phone demanded that he give his men $100 that day, and he complied because one of them had a gun. Jamie Ford. Yeah, Ronnie, that's the one I'm trying to catch. Jamie Ford, you hear why he answered the phone. One of them had a gun. A man with a gun comes and tells you the boss wants to speak to you on the other side of the phone. You say no? Like, I think I'm a relatively courageous guy, but I would take that phone call. I'm just saying. I that's a phone call I think I would have to answer. He said the man on the cell phone demanded he give his men $100 that day, and he complied because one of them had a gun. Hossein said he was shaken and did not return to the area to sell for a week. He eventually decided to pay the $2,000 a month because all the other vendors were doing it, and he had to sell at the roundabout to make a living. This continued up to October 2023. RL says, so like again, they shoot someone outside my street. Again, what the hell is going on in Tobago, boy? Well, it's Trinidad and Tobago, bro. And he paid the $2,000 from January to October. So again, sometimes when you see these, and I'm not saying necessarily that this pertains to any specific person, but sometimes when you see these young ladies counting the money for the big bad men, it's advantage they're taking of other people. That's evil. You going and buying weave and Jordans and gold off of a businessman's frightened money isn't a flex. $10,000 demand. Hossein said that in October he received a call from a different man claiming to be part of a known gang. The man demanded that he pay $10,000 a month to sell at the roundabout. The man said, here, what is the scene? We want $10,000 in the morning, and if you don't give me that $10,000, we're going to kill you. The fish vendor, rightfully, got frightened. Hossein said he was sure he was being followed at that point because the man knew he had just come home. I say, boy, I have loan to pay. I real catching my tail right now and my mother and my father sick. He say, here what going on, so there. You have to pay the money, boy. You're paying it, yes or no? Hossein said he was afraid and went to a friend's house to spend the night. The next day, he said he went to the Shogunas police station to report that his life was being threatened and let the officers listen to the threats as the man kept calling him. He in the police station making a report and the man kept calling him. Why not the Carney station? Well, the fish vendor was from Couva. That's why I would presume he was from Couva. From there, he was referred to the Couva police station where he made the report and was advised by the officers not to pay any money because that would be a lifelong commitment and he could still lose his life. Couva police could not immediately be reached for comment yesterday. Of course they couldn't. Depressed and alone, Hossein said he was frightened for his life and sold his pickup and truck for a lot less than their market value and scraped up what little savings he had and fled to the United Kingdoms 3 days later. He told the Express that he feels alone, depressed, and suicidal at times. Sometimes I sit down in a bus in this cold weather and I think about how happy my life was in Trinidad. And these people just come and attack me over there, he said. Hossein, who is currently living off his small savings, said, I over here not making $1 now. Crime causes poverty. The criminals aren't criminals because they are poor. The criminals are making those around them poor. They are impoverishing their community and dragging it into the hell of ghettos. That's like I read this story and that's a tragedy for me. That's a true tragedy. And this is a businessman in a hard business. This is fishing. This is a fisherman, a hard-working man, a small businessman. So he's taking his trade and expanding it into the entrepreneurial sector, making a business out of this, trying to enter into that middle class, maybe hopefully get into the upper middle class. And then this happens. And we wonder why our middle class is disappearing. And it's not just because the government has taxes or because the rich are getting richer. It's because of the stinking criminals too. They are pests. true pests on our society. Upper middle class is the goal. I'm sure it was the goal for the fisherman. 100% certain. Dean Khan says just leave. And, well, that's what the man did. That's what the man did. And now that entrepreneurial spirit would go to the United Kingdom. Don't doubt you hear in a couple years, if you could follow this story, that the man starts some kind of business over there and makes it over there. Don't doubt that it might be very well possible, because he may be entrepreneurial in nature. But that's how you lose those people in your country. If in the country all of the entrepreneurial people leave, all that are left are public servants and criminals. A country for the public servants and the criminals only. Everybody in the country could only survive off of government money. Anytime you make your own money, the criminals are going to take it from you. Leave them to God, he will make a way. Yeah, I'm sure he'll make a way, and I'm sure God will do what God will do. But we have people that are hired and in a position that claim that they are there to solve these very same issues. Dane Khan says he was my shrimp guy, Danny. Really sad. So you know the guy too. Imagine that. And now every time I pass that roundabout, I'm watching all of those business people with some sadness. Knowing that very likely if you're a business person there, you have to be making extra money for some lazy brute sitting somewhere doing nothing. And we in this country know this. The protective services are aware of this, and nothing is done. That's insane to me, truly. Truly insane. When I look at the atmosphere for business in this country, it can nearly seem like the people that are in charge there hate businesses. They hate small businesses. They hate entrepreneurs. Like, the aim is to just leave public servants and criminals in this place. Scrap iron dealers to government. Deal with choking bureaucracy. And every month or so, I do a story on the Scrap Iron Dealers Association, and it's a story that keeps building. And then when it reaches to a point and ahead, everyone in the country will be like, look at these old criminals and them, how they're so wicked. And these people are complaining about this continually. The government said, okay, we're stopping this to put laws in place. They put laws in place that aren't conducive to the running of the industry. The people are complaining about it continually. This is an industry that everyone knows employs a large amount of ex-cons. They know that. They know that this industry already has a problem where it seems like it's teetering on the edge of criminality. I would think from a societal point of view, if I'm a government, this is an industry I want to make sure is the easiest industry to run above board. I don't want to give you an incentive to go under the books, to go beyond the law. I want to make sure that you are incentivized to stay above the law, because I know that this industry already has certain tendencies. Big Show Edwards says, I once was threatened for money for my trade once on a job in the ghetto, and I just walked away, Big Show Edwards says. Well, you can walk away, Big Show Edwards. You can walk away. Some people may not be able to walk away. If the man is a fisherman and that is his spot to sell fish, what does he do? If you are living in the community and they threaten you, what do you do? Don't you think a police officer getting a cut of that $10,000? I do not doubt it for a second, Dean Khan. Why do you think the criminals want the money? Champa Ali says, just what the vendor doing, trying to make a living. The mayor trying to take away our bread and butter. We in San Fernando. Yes, Champa, I have heard about you speak about that before. But at the end of the day, vending can't happen any and everywhere. I don't know the details of that situation. But very likely there's an officer somewhere along who is sitting buying a gold chain for his outside child with some vendor around the roundabouts money. Some vendor selling in the hot sun day in, day out is paying for a double palm visit. Is paying for the wrongs drinks tonight. That's insane to think about in a country like ours. And as I said, what you'd be left with are public servants and criminals in the country alone. Who are you going to tax then? Good news, Ronnie says. What's that good news? A surveillance system, and in 2 weeks they can be apprehended. But no, Jamie Ford, there are cameras all around that region. There are cameras all around that region. That's not a hard thing to find out. If a man is calling from inside of jail, is he a hard man to find? Like, finding and getting the information is not the issue here. Like, I've thrown away that thought a long time now. That's a mama guy talk. Like, somehow the police work is so difficult to do. No, it's not the police work. It's the intention. The youths aren't interested in public service. Well, then the youths will be the criminals. If the youths aren't interested in public service, well, they would be the criminals, and the old people would be the public servants, and the public servants will suck themselves dry, paying themselves, and the criminals will take it all. Very good, Big Show Edwards. Now we're working on our crafts. Well, if you're working on your crafts and they're robbing you of your craft, what are you going to do then, Ronnie? So reality is crime is a necessity for society to function. Maybe our society, but not society in general. Not society in general. It isn't a necessity. That doesn't have to happen. The Scrap Iron Association doesn't have to fall apart. The scrap iron business doesn't have to fall apart. We don't have to end up back with copper thieves climbing the light poles at all hours of the night again. That isn't something that has to happen. The government could cut the red tape and allow the association to renew their licenses quickly and promptly. That could happen. That's an alternative. Here's one of the problems, though, with policing, and policing in a country like ours. And to me, you see the issue on both sides. With this, you see the issue on both sides. You see the issue why, one, many of these officers may be susceptible to inducement, and two, why the structure of the police service allows for infinite loyalty nearly going upwards. Police hopefuls want stable jobs. More than 1,000 young men turned up at the police barracks in St. James on January 12th looking for employment with the TTPS officers on duty, with some prospective applicants arrived for the recruitment drive from the night of January 11th, and one applicant told Newsday he arrived at 2:30 a.m. on January 12th. Most of the applicants said they arrived before sunrise. They described the process as smooth, with many saying it was much better planned than the recent recruitment drive by the prison service. The majority said they were applying because they were seeking stable employment. If you was the prime minister, what would you put in place for crime? Okay, let me see. I don't know for prime minister. If I was the dictator, prime minister is a hard position to do anything. But if I was the dictator, for one, I'm firing the commissioner. And I think the idea that the partnership had back in 2011, 2010, whenever they made that decision, with Iwatsky and Gibbs, as much as some people clown them for that idea, I actually think that's probably a better idea. Get a management team, not just a commissioner. Maybe Iwatsky and Gibbs were too few. Maybe we need Iwatsky, Gibbs, Charles, Ferdinand, and their whole crew. Not just two. The whole senior management crew of the police from foreign. Yeah, I'd say Gary did a better job. And that's more testament to how badly... Ronnie, I caught the mosquito. That's more of a testament to how badly many of our other commissioners did, instead of necessarily a plus towards him. But yeah, that's one of the first things I'm doing. One of the first things I'm doing is replacing the senior management of the police service. And then from there, allow that new management to clean up the service, because it's too white probably. I don't care. I really don't care. If the most effective police service in the world is run by 20 white men, the whitest white men we could ever find, I want all 20 of those pale white men. Bring all milky men down here. Let them make our country safe. I really don't care. I don't care. Let the white men ball up at the black men if it so needs be. Let them clean up the service. Now, the difficult part would be the judiciary and the prison service. For the judiciary, if I'm a dictator, I'm bringing it to the Caribbean Court of Justice, and then I'm putting in the Caribbean Court of Justice some justices that I like. So that we end all this easy out nonsense, and maybe we lock up a few judges for giving bail when they shouldn't give bail, because I find bail is given at ridiculous times. Not like people talk about murderers shouldn't be able to access bail, but that's not it. The Privy Council didn't say that the murderers should always be granted bail. They said that they should be able to access bail, but it's on a judge. A judge is supposed to be able to decide, okay, this person seems like they're a danger to society, we don't give you bail. But if they were giving everyone ridiculous bail, this regiment officer who allegedly murdered his child's mother and her mother, he was out on bail, given bail after breaking the conditions of his protection order and promising to kill the person. Lol, bro, they have rights, bro. I don't care about that kind of business, to be very honest with you. I think the rights are overdone in some of these cases. The rights are used as a escape portal by very smart lawyers to make the country unlivable. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But they have rights and they have rights. Everyone has rights. You had a right to obey the law. You transgressed your own rights by disobeying the law. Well, get out. We'll do like El Salvador, build a nice big prison. And that I'm talking about, we're talking fantasy land here. Someone was asking me as prime minister, and I said I don't think prime minister is enough. As dictator, I'm telling you what I think needed. Whole new management and the police service. Change the top court to a court that is within my purview, and then start moving some of that. And finally, reduce a lot of the bureaucracy in Trinidad. A lot of the red tape is unnecessary. Make business much easier to be done. So you make things easier for the business people while making things harder for the gang members and the criminals. It feels a lot of times like the People's National Movement makes things harder for the business people while making things easier for the criminals and gang members, giving them contracts, etc., etc., etc. That's what it feels like. And I think we should do something vice versa to that. I know it sounds outrageous, but that's just what I think. That's the red tape is what the red tape is precisely what they were complaining about at the Scrap Iron Dealers Association. And as I was saying, the reason you need to, in my opinion, get people outside of Trinidad and Tobago, you need to get people outside of Trinidad and Tobago to control the TTPS. The reason I'm saying that is because of this very same thing I'm reading in this article. All of these officers are looking for stable jobs. They want to do whatever needs to be done to make sure their job stays secure. That's all. And if that is the case, they would all be covering each other's tails. All. They're all looking for stable jobs. That's what they want. They want to make sure. No, they just want a paycheck. Yes, they want a paycheck, but not just the paycheck. They want the paycheck to keep coming, so they don't want to lose the job. That's not going to make honest workers. That's going to make a circle of protection. And that's why I see you need somebody from outside of that circle to come in there. Because if it is that all of the police officers, they have as their motivation not wanting to lose the job. And before, when the highest people inside of the ranks are all part of this not wanting to lose our job circle, well, then we'd all cover each other's tails and we get nothing done. But if now we have a management structure that is exterior to that group, then the way to protect your job is to do your job. And right there, you change the incentive structure of the police service. Right, so when police infringe on criminal rights to control crime, the citizens say TTPS corrupt. That's not what the citizens say TTPS is corrupt for. To be very honest with you, the more you don't get the most uproar from citizens for going into a hotspot area and tangling with a known criminal. I do not know under what circumstances the police killing of what's this guy of Dole in Silats was. I have no idea. That was 2-3 years ago or something like that. They went into Silats. They say there was something that caused it. They killed him, shot him dead. How many people in Trinidad had an uproar about that? Go look back at the articles. See how much of an uproar there was. Exactly, blessed. So people don't generally make an uproar for that. What people make an uproar for is when police are being tax collectors and going around looking at people's wheels to get a $1,200 ticket and examining your headlights to see if one little blurry and seeing if a scratch in your windshield and that kind of ridiculous folly. That's what people dislike the police for. People dislike the police because the police are glorified tax collectors and they seem like they're real enthusiastic to do their tax collecting duties while the murder rate is 600 plus. That's why people don't like the police. People don't like the police because you call to tell them somebody robbed you and they insult you, and then you could barely find a police anywhere to say that was wrong unconditionally. For them to say it was wrong, they have to have a little caveat, a little, ticket offenses are the law. I see you an officer. I see you're an officer. Thank you, blessed, for showing yourself. And that's why people don't like officers. Because you're so worried about the ticket offenses law while blood is flowing in the streets. And ticket offenses are the law. You know, ticket offenses are the law. That's why people don't like officers. You see, you just revealed it. You revealed it to the live. Thank you. People aren't worried about y'all bending a right to hold a criminal. That's what you said. People would say that the police are corrupt when you do something to hold a criminal. People don't care about that. People care about that attitude. That attitude. The law about trivial matters, to take money from generally well-behaved citizens. Your job is to protect and serve, keep the peace. What you're doing here isn't protecting or serving. It isn't making the place more peaceful. It's just fleecing the poor citizens to give to a wasteful government. And then you would have the gumption to look the citizens in the eye and tell them some nonsense about the law. In one of the most lawless countries in this hemisphere, you will look at us and tell us the reason you steal our money to give to the wasteful, corrupt government is the law. And that makes you a moral, upstanding person. You feel good about yourself with that, don't you? That's why, in case you're wondering what is the problem people have with the officers. That is the problem people have with the officers. Don't get it wrong. People don't mind if you have to bend something and you're targeting the criminal. People don't mind. The only two wicked people is a 5-girl WhatsApp group, and there's only 5 women in that only 2 wicked crew when the police doing criminals things. Regular citizens generally don't mind. To be honest, our cup isn't leading the way it should be, especially after getting the baton from Double G. 100%. Like, I don't want to sound sexist. I don't want to sound sexist. But Tanti making it bad for female leadership. It could make you wonder. It could make you want to ask questions. I'm not saying this is true, but it could make you want to ask questions about whether a woman is the right person to lead the protective services of our country. And you know, in modern times, that question is offensive. In modern times, that question is offensive. But I think the answer to that question would have been plainly said just about any other time in human history. You see, Dream Chaser, there's a difference in that. People want crime to stop, but they don't want to be inconvenienced. I don't think it's just that, Blessed. I honestly don't think it's just that. It's not about the inconvenience. It's not about traffic. People might not mind traffic. But nonsense tickets, it's not about inconvenience. And if you somehow convince me that by me paying $1,200 because I didn't get my car inspected on the last day of the year, if you could convince me somehow that stops crime, well, you're free to attempt that. But I am not convinced that stops crime. Show me how the inconvenience is leading towards the reduction of crime, and then by all means, inconvenience me, brother. But don't inconvenience me while the murder rate is increasing. Don't inconvenience me while the bandits are moving freely. Don't inconvenience me while there are shootouts and murders in broad daylight that are never caught. Don't inconvenience me when bullets being found, when shells being found at murder sites have our regiment and air guard name on it. Don't inconvenience me when that is the case. Like, for me, you could ignore all road traffic laws until we reduce violent crime. Forget about road traffic. Disband the highway patrol from looking at anybody with smooth tires and dark tint. You are only on violent crime duty. All our police move over to the murder unit. Forget about any other unit. There is a progression of importance here. There's a progression of importance. You can't tell me you are the most stringent police service when it comes to road traffic enforcement while murders are running abated. Forget about the road traffic enforcement. That's why people are upset. It's not that people mind inconvenience. If you were inconveniencing people, but Trinidad not even a fly could dead without the police knowing and holding someone responsible, well then, okay. I mean, it's inconvenient, but there's a reason for the inconvenience. Or you mean it's inconvenient and still dangerous? Different arms of the police is necessary to fight crime. However, a lot of tactics being used now is good. Yeah, I know that. I'm being hyperbolic in how I say that. Obviously, I understand that you can't all be in task force. There needs to be someone driving in case someone is trying to escape and all of that and all of that. What I'm saying is there needs to be some kind of prioritizing here. There needs to be some kind of prioritizing. And it feels ridiculous, and you can't blame the citizens for feeling ridiculous when they are late for work, sitting in 45 minutes of traffic. They don't know if they're going to get a ticket because our road traffic laws are so subjective and wide-ranging. If the police see me, they could kind of just feel to give me a ticket if they want to. All of that is happening. I'm late for work. I'm $1,200 out of pocket. And yet still, I hear quadruple murder on my way home. Come on. Like, think about that from a citizen's point of view. Get out of the batch thinking. Forget that you are an officer. Forget that you have to defend them till you're dead. Forget that. You don't have to defend them. Think of yourself just as a regular human Trinidadian now. That sounds ridiculous. Inconvenience as in house searches, persons searching vehicles and what if a man bungs your car. Listen, if the police want to search my house and that's in their mode to get things, fine. But again, you're acting like people don't know the police. You're acting like people don't know the police. If I am the neighbor to a block, I'm not saying I am, but let's say I am. If my neighbor runs a block, and then the police come by my house, I know my neighbor running a block 2 decades now, and then the police come by my house to search and ransack my house, and cussing me and insulting me in the process. Don't come and tell me I don't want inconvenience to stop crime. I know where the crime is. I see you when you go to collect your payment, officer. But too much people, businessmen benefiting from crime. Police is only the fall guys. Police aren't only the fall guys. Those police in the modified Navaras and driving Volkswagens and have rental properties all around the place, they aren't only the victims and the fall guys. A lot of them are perpetrators too. Not so? Like, let's be honest about it. The police aren't just the victims. They are perpetrators too. They are the big guys too. The police are the reason that some of these criminals are so well protected. Ah, right. Okay, so Blessed says, too much people, businessmen benefiting from crime. Police is only the fall guys. When I say police benefit from crime, here's what he says. Where's your evidence of that? But wait. No evidence was required to say that the businessmen benefiting from crime. But the moment you attribute that to the police, no, where's your evidence of that, boy? How dare you say that the police who are next to God commit crimes? Again, Blessed, you see why people don't like police. You're very willing to see the faults when they're exterior, but it's impossible to see them interior. as I regularly say, you all will make for some difficult spouses, some difficult husbands or wives with that kind of attitude. You know? I don't know how a wife lives with a police husband. I don't know. You could never be the wrong one. All right, brother. It's impossible. And not just you. You and all your boys. Me and all my boys are always right. Okay, brother. Okay, brother, always right. Once you get that Star of David on your chest, your ability to be wrong disappears. You sure it's not your MPs and politicians? All right. If anybody had to guess, who is selling ammunition from our protective services? Would it be a member of parliament who is going through and going down into the barracks, sneaking down with his entourage, going down to Tetron, sneaking in Tetron with a little garbage bag, raking a couple boxes of bullets, sneak out in his government-issued vehicle, drive out of Shagaramas, drive down onto where them boys be, and sell them bullets to them boys? That's what you all think happened? Or is it more likely one of the guys who works there using the ammunition pilfered it and sold it? I mean, I hold no brief for the MPs and politicians. I have no doubt that many of them are responsible for serious crimes. I don't doubt that. But this just doesn't sound like one of the crimes they are directly responsible for. It just doesn't. I feel like those are men who don't get their hands dirty. I feel like even if it was a politician responsible, indirectly, they would very likely use a protective service officer as their hands. Who do you think picks up this stuff and moves it about? You think an MP is going down there in his Prado and carrying it out in the backseat? And you know, the thing that upsets me at this, Blessed says you will never know how it is to work in a system trying to do good and watch people hurt frightening. What upsets me oftentimes in this is if you corner an honest police, and I say this every time, you corner an honest police, they will tell you some of the horror stories that they know from the inside. This guy, Blessed, sitting on his phone, defending the police so hard, very likely knows personally officers responsible for the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago. This man that is defending them right now, very likely, if you could have a personal conversation one-on-one with him, he might tell you things to make your ears ring. Remember the unfortunate officer who went to church and gave his testimony, and in his testimony he revealed some of the things that officers say in passing in person, and it shocked the internet. It went viral. If this was another police, they planned something on you. Yeah, a police said that in church. Why? Because he knows it to be true. My question is, are there no audits of ammunition? Because plenty must be missing. Here's the deal, Blessed. You say minority. But if a minority of police are criminals, and the majority are responsible for arresting criminals, but do not arrest that minority of criminal police, then the majority are either bad themselves or incompetent. You heard what I said, Blessed? If a minority are criminals inside the police service, and the majority remainder of the police service are not, but they are responsible for arresting the criminals, and they do not arrest that minority of criminal compatriots, then they are either bad too or inept. Or evidence is the issue. I put that in on the ineptitude side. If it's impossible for police to gather evidence on their crooked compatriots who are working with the police resources to do their crookedness, then I'd say they are inept. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Yeah, right, sure. So police vehicles don't pass on blocks and collect pickups. Those things are impossible to prove. Impossible to prove. Blocks don't have protection. No officer from a certain station shoots a call out to the block right before the raid happens. That's impossible to find out. Oh, stop it. That's impossible to find out. No police officer limes on a certain drug block. Nobody knows that. That's impossible to find out. Yeah. Sure. Sure, blessed. Sure. All of that is just impossible to prove. That's what I said. It's either they are bad or they are inept. So which one is it? And the attitude that somehow it's not the police, it's never the police could never do wrong. It's not working. And it's pushing the people further and further away from the police. You don't want a situation like that. You don't want a situation in this country where nobody trusts the police. Then it's just the criminal police and police in danger. If you are not a criminal, then you would always be in danger as a police. I wish you can wear that uniform for a month, just 1 month. Blessed, you have no idea the irony of that statement you just said there. You have no idea. Someday maybe we would talk in person and you'd appreciate some of that irony. Who will police the police? That has always been the question, hasn't it? And as it stands, it's the police to police the police. I know that, blessed. Trust me, I know. I know very well. And I know there are some very hardworking police. But I think the majority aren't hardworking. I don't think the majority are dishonest. I think the majority are just there. And the batch protection attitude makes it incentivized to close ranks. And bad police generally know that all police will protect them. That's how it works. Bad police know that there's this thin blue line that everyone is going to toe. If I do anything, none of my compatriots are going to say anything bad about me. They're going to close ranks. I am in no danger, really. It's easier for a police to get locked up faster than a civilian. When last was a police officer sent to prison? Blessed. I'm not talking about arrested or charged. Sent to prison. Found guilty. Last month? Which case was that? I'm trying to recall. Which case was that last month? Because something I note, it's easier for police to get locked up that faster than a civilian. I don't necessarily know that to be fact. I know that police do get charged. That does happen. But I would like to see a statistical analysis, a breakdown of the charges compared to the convictions with the TTPS in this country. Yeah, the one with the bar fight from 2016 was released, was he not? So he was not sent to prison. Right. That's the point I'm making. None of them are convicted. So is it that none of them really are guilty? Is it that all police that are arrested are innocently arrested? He was remanded. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm not talking about remanded. I'm talking I'm talking about a police officer who was found guilty of the crime he was charged with and put and sentenced to prison. When was the last time that happened, Blessed? And you say evidence. Who is responsible for collecting evidence in a criminal case? Remind me about that. Blessed? Who is responsible for collecting, preserving? Oh, something seems unique about that. So, the group of people responsible for collecting evidence somehow don't get evidence against them for cases. Something seems off about that, but I can't quite put my finger on it. I'm not quite sure what it is, but something just seems, you know. And when it's not the evidence, when it's the witnesses, I urge you, Blessed. There were several high-profile police cases in December. Go read all of them that were pertaining to witness statements and see what the witnesses said in those cases. See what the witnesses in those cases said. And then tell me, if it's impossible to get evidence and witnesses are too scared, how can police ever be really prosecuted? And then the talk about it easier for police to go to jail than civilians becomes BS real quickly. Because that's all surface level. We arrest you, the case goes through, 6 years later, you're innocent, nothing comes of it, you get your back pay and we're cool. We lime together all the while anyway. You still come down in the police spot where all of us lime? Yeah, normal. Okay now, Blessed. Alright, okay now. Alright, with that okay coming from Blessed, I think we'd call it a night there. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It was nice as per usual. I will see you guys again for the next Mindful Live, which is going to be Monday next week. In the new week, I will see you guys then. Please do tune in. The collapse of the case against the San Fernando robbery squad. Yup. Darius, you still out there? I coming. Stay right there, Darius. I coming. All right. Latest people, stay safe out there. You too. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. That's all I have for now. I'll see you guys again for the next one. This was brought to you by Mindful Education. Look out for us over there on Instagram. It's the educational institution that I run. We provide learning pods for preschool all the way up to CXC individual attention for tutoring. Also, if you're interested in that, hit us up. Latest people, safe weekend to you too, Cardell. Bye. Peace.